Revealed. The touching moment a beggar girl's desire for a daddy led to an incredible life-changing connection. Lucy's heart raced as she sat on the cold sidewalk outside the grocery store, her faithful dog Max by her side. She watched the busy lives of others whirl by, families holding hands, children laughing, fathers lifting their kids to reach candy in store windows. A tinge of hope stirred in her chest as she scanned each passerby, hoping today might be different, that someone might notice her small frame and hopeful eyes. She clutched her worn backpack stuffed with scraps of paper and a frayed blanket, reminders of her life on the streets. Each morning, she made the same silent plea, one that was part wish, part desperate desire for a father's love. Just one person, she whispered softly, her fingertip tracing a faded picture of a father holding his daughter on a summer day. The local fair was in town, a dazzling spectacle of colors and sounds that beckoned Lucy from afar. She watched, mesmerized, as laughter echoed and bright lights danced. Closing her eyes for a moment, she took a deep breath, letting the sweet scent of cotton candy and popcorn envelop her. "I wish to be loved," she murmured, her heart aching at the weight of her words. Little did she know, in the shadows of the fair, Mike, a disillusioned war veteran, stood staring at the scene. The flicker of joy caught his attention, and his eyes landed on Lucy. He felt drawn to her light, a stark contrast to the ghosts that haunted him, reminders of the child he lost in the war. The innocence in her yearning stirred something deep within, igniting a flicker of hope. As the Ferris wheel turned, it carried Lucy's brave spirit and Mike's buried dreams toward collision. They shared a moment just as the wheel reached its peak, their eyes locking. Lucy smiled tentatively, sensing the warmth radiating from him. It was a smile that could melt the thickest walls, and it pierced through Mike's hardened heart. Days turned into weeks, and their bond deepened, sharing laughter and tears over simple meals. But while Lucy thrived, Mike wrestled with uncertainty. Society's watchful eyes weighed on him. Would they judge him for stepping into a fatherly role? One night, the weight of his thoughts whispered loud fears into existence. What if he wasn't enough? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as they began to find solace in each other's presence, Lucy's estranged mother stormed into her life, demanding her back. The chaos erupted like a thunderstorm, sending Lucy's heart racing, torn between her past and this newfound family she had longed for. Was this love merely a flicker, ready to be extinguished? Mike felt the stakes rise, the weight of responsibility pressing down. Here they stood, on the edge of a decision that could change everything. Would they let fear dictate their paths? Or could they embrace the chance they had to redefine family? Questions hung in the air, thick with hope and uncertainty, leaving the door open for what lay ahead. Lucy's breath caught in her throat as her mother's presence forced her back into the memories she had been fighting to escape. The years of neglect and longing crashed over her like a tidal wave. The woman before her looked the same as she did in Lucy's recollections, but there was a hardness to her face now, shaped by the struggles that had led her to abandon her child. "Lucy," her mother said, voice sharp as glass, "I need you to come home. I can't keep this up without you." Home? The word stung. Home had never felt safe or warm. It was a painful reminder of the instability that had driven Lucy to the streets. She glanced at Mike, his hands clenched at his sides, confusion and concern etched across his face. Mom, Lucy's voice trembled, fragile like a spider's silk in the breeze. "I'm not sure I want to go back. Do you think this man cares about you?" Her mother shot back. "You're just a burden to him. You know that, don't you?" The accusation hung heavy in the air. Lucy's heart sank, and anger flared. "You don't get to decide that," she spat, her voice stronger than it had ever been. Yes, everything I've wanted." Tears surged and blurred her vision, but she stood firm. Mike stepped forward, his voice steady. "She is not a burden. She is a shining light," he declared, glancing at Lucy with unwavering resolve. "We're building something here together." Lucy looked at him, scanning his eyes for truth, searching for proof that their bond was real. The warmth of his support wrapped around her, and she found strength in it despite her mother's presence. Could this man truly be the father she craved? Her mother scoffed, but something shifted in her expression. "You think you can just play house with this girl? You're a soldier who barely came back standing. You're lost just like her. You don't know a thing about us," Mike replied, his voice rising. "I may have scars, but I'm here for her. I choose her." Lucy felt the fire ignite within her. Fear knotted in her stomach, but on the other edge, there was hope, a possibility of family. Perhaps this chaos, this confrontation, could lead to something more than the cycles of heartache that had once defined her existence. For the first time, she considered a choice. Freedom from her past and the chance for a future wrapped in love. "I need time," she said, taking a step back, glancing at the fair in the distance, a world of laughter beckoning her. Her heart ached as she spoke her truth, knowing it could change everything. "I want to stay with Mike." A silence fell. The tension between the three of them thickened, crackling with energy. Her mother's mouth opened, but words caught in her throat. Would she fight for Lucy or walk away? Would Mike keep his promise and help Lucy embrace the life she yearned for? In that moment, everything was poised for change. "How could you choose him?" her mother finally whispered, the disbelief clear on her face. As Mike reached for Lucy's hand, they shared a glance that signified a deeper understanding. A connection formed in the fires of adversity. Lucy squeezed his hand, and it felt like a promise. But as the crowd of onlookers buzzed around them, Lucy could feel the eyes of strangers judging and wondering. The world beyond her was more complicated than she thought. Would she truly have the strength to break free from her past and embrace this new kind of family? Just then, Lucy spotted a familiar face in the distance. Someone who might make their already complicated situation even harder. As their eyes met, a shiver ran down her spine. What did it mean for her future and her choice? For Lucy and Mike, the fairy tale they started to weave might just be beginning to unravel. Lucy's heart raced as she recognized the face approaching through the throng of people. It was Ethan, her childhood friend. She hadn't seen him in years, not since her family had spiraled into chaos, and she had fled the place they once called home. His presence felt like an anchor, and an anchor that might also drag her under. "Lucy," Ethan called, a wide smile breaking across his face. But as he drew closer, his expression shifted. Confusion marred that cheerful look, quickly replaced by concern. "What's going on? I heard you were back in town." "Ethan," Lucy started, but words tangled in her throat. She glanced at Mike, whose grip on her hand tightened slightly, a silent assurance amid the storm rising around her. Ethan's gaze darted between them, realizing the tension that had crackled in the air like electricity. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice suddenly heavy with sincerity. "I saw your mom and, well, I guess you might need help." Time seemed frozen. Thoughts raced through Lucy's mind, battling against each other. A part of her wanted to leap into Ethan's familiar comfort, to seek safety in shared memories. But the other part reminded her why she burnt those bridges in the first place. She inhaled deeply, trying to find her footing. "We're fine," Mike interjected, his tone firm yet calm. Lucy's made her choice. Ethan looked at Mike, sizing him up. "And that you?" he said, a hint of skepticism lacing his words. "I just hope she knows what she's doing." Lucy's heart clenched at the doubt in Ethan's voice. She felt her defenses rising. "I'm not a child anymore," she said, trying to muster strength. "I know what I want." "Do you?" Ethan shot back, his concern morphing into frustration. "You're picking some soldier over your family? Your real home? Home is what I decide." She didn't mean to shout, but the words burst out, echoing in the noise around them. The crowd hushed momentarily, eyes on her, and her heart hammered in her chest. Lucy, her mother, spoke softly from behind, but Lucy cut her off. "Don't." Just don't. Her voice dropped, emotion thick. You're not here for me. You're here because it's convenient for you. Well, I'm tired of being your convenience. The weight of her voice hung in the air. She could feel the eyes of strangers lingering on her, judging the choices she had made, the path she had chosen, and the people who were now standing around her. Lucy, please, Ethan said, stepping closer, his warm brown eyes finding hers. I just don't want to see you hurt. Maybe it's too late for that, Lucy replied, vulnerability spilling into her tone. I already hurt, but I'm trying to learn how to live, to carve out a real life for myself. Lucy, Mike's voice was filled with urgency. Stay with me. But then Ethan moved between them, and even with the tension thickening like fog, he looked earnest. I know the struggles you've faced. We grew up together. But if things go south with him, there's no going back. Remember that. The words struck sharply, and Lucy felt a swell of emotion churning inside her. What if he was right? What if this chance slipped right through her fingers? But another thought crept in, relentless. She had to take risks. She had to choose love, not fear. Lucy glanced at Mike, whose eyes held a flicker of hope mingled with worry. Would he still be there if she opened up this next chapter? Did she dare step forward into the unknown with him? And in that instant, everything felt impossibly tangled. Friends, family, hope, and fear all swirling together into a storm. Lucy, Ethan said, breaking into her thoughts. You're not alone. I'm still your friend. Mike squeezed her hand reassuringly, determination etched on his face. You can choose the family you want, he reminded her. Lucy took a deep breath, feeling everything collide. Love, doubt, desire for belonging. Looking at Ethan, she whispered, I'm trying to find what family means to me now. It's complicated. But as she grappled with her emotions, another familiar face appeared on the edge of the crowd. A chilling realization struck her. Would this person only complicate things more? How would they react to her life? Lucy's heart raced again, fear and hope clashing within her. What would this encounter mean for her choices, and for the future she dared to dream? The crowd around Lucy seemed to shrink, the chaos fading away as her focus narrowed to the silhouette approaching. With every step, her pulse quickened. The familiar outline crystallized into the unmistakable figure of her older brother, Jake. He hadn't just slipped out of her life. He had vanished with the rest of their family, leaving only echoes and questions in his wake. Lucy, his voice was a whirlwind, filled with disbelief and emotion. He pushed through the crowd, and as he reached her, he halted wide-eyed, struggling to comprehend the scene unfolding before him. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. Memories flooded back, laughter around the dinner table, shared secrets under stars, and the last time they fought like fire before everything fell apart. Jake, she whispered, her heart divided between joy at seeing him and the pain of lost time. What had been a close-knit bond now felt fragile and distant, like a glass sculpture threatening to shatter. She searched his eyes for understanding, for some reassurance that they could bridge the years lost. But all she could see was confusion and hurt. Why didn't you tell me you were back? Jake demanded gently, his voice softening. I looked for you. I thought. He stopped abruptly, grappling with the weight of his words. I thought you didn't want us anymore. I had to leave. You know that. She snapped back defensively. The heat of their unresolved past simmered just beneath the surface. You had your life. I had mine. You also had family who cared. He shot back. The tension between them rose like the tide, threatening to engulf everything they once shared. Lucy steeled herself, fists clenching at her sides. I came back to find something different, Jake. I wanted more than who we were back then. Ethan stood back, eyes darting between Lucy and Jake, unsure of where he fit into this reunion of fractured lives. Mike remained a constant, his presence an unwavering island in the sea of their chaos, though Lucy noticed a flicker of tension in his body language. Guys, this is not about the past, Lucy said, forcing her voice to remain steady. We need to focus on what's happening now. But Jake's expression twisted in pain. You can't just forget it, Lucy. You think I didn't suffer? You think I didn't want to find you? His voice dropped. I lost you too. The weight of those words settled over them, raw and heavy. A silence enveloped them, pierced only by the distant hum of conversations around. In that moment, her need to belong, to reclaim some semblance of family, surged within her. What do I even have left to go back to? She murmured, almost to herself. Lucy, Mike said softly, stepping closer. You're forging your own path. SNT that worth fighting for? Jake's eyes hardened again, scanning Mike with disdain. And you think you're the one to guide her? You don't know what it's like for us. Lucy felt an invisible wall begin to rise. There was a choice to make, a painful chasm stretching between her brother and the new life she was trying to build. Please, Lucy said, desperation spilling into her tone. I need you both. I can't choose. Then you'll lose both of us, Ethan said, his voice steady. Family doesn't have to be forgotten. But it also can't suffocate. Jake flinched. You're right. It's just hard. Everything has changed. She felt the walls between them beginning to tremble. Hope flickered within her. Maybe conflict could lead to understanding. And yet, as they stood in that tangled moment, she sensed an invisible thread tying all their hearts together. How do we move forward? She asked softly, her voice breaking slightly. But just then, another figure appeared from the crowd, an unexpected presence that threatened to unravel everything. Lucy's heart dropped. Who could it be now? Her breath caught as she prepared for yet another life-altering moment. What new reality would this person bring to the tangled web of her life? As the crowd parted like a sea, Lucy squinted into the murky lights of the festival, searching for the source of her sudden dread. The figure approached with purpose, gender unclear, their movements frantic and hasty. When the last of the crowd gave way, Lucy's breath left her in a rush. It was a girl no older than 10, with matted hair and dirt-streaked cheeks, eyes wide and shining with desperation. Please, please help, the girl cried, her voice piercing through the air. I'm looking for my daddy. Lucy's heart sank, the pang of recognition reverberating through her. She saw the very same longing she felt for her own brother reflected in this child's face. The girl wore clothes that hung off her thin frame, showing the signs of neglect. There was a raw sincerity in her words, a plea that shattered whatever tension still lingered in the air. Jake, visibly taken aback, glanced at Lucy for guidance. As if instinctively understanding, she knelt to the girl's level, her heart throbbing with sympathy. What's your name, sweetie? She asked gently. Lila, the girl whispered, her small voice shaking. I got lost looking for him. He promised he'd meet me here. Lucy shared a look with Jake, memories tumbling through her mind of when the world had felt safe, when they were just children enshrouded in the warmth of their family. What does your daddy look like? Lucy pressed, urging Lila to keep talking, hoping to draw her back from the precipice of despair. Lila's lips trembled. He has brown hair and he said he'd be wearing the blue jacket. Her gaze fell to the ground. I thought I knew where to go, but now her voice broke, and tears pooled in her eyes. Lucy felt a pang of something unnameable, a deep, maternal instinct snapping awake inside her. She pulled the girl into an embrace, a fierce protectiveness flooding over her. We'll help you find him. Promise. Jake stepped forward, nodding. Yeah. We'll search together. Lila, can you remember where you last saw him? His voice was soft yet strong. Lila nodded slowly, her small hands fiddling with the hem of her shirt. Near the big tree by where the rides are, she murmured, pointing toward the distant glow of carnival lights. As if united by a shared purpose, they set off toward the tree, pushing through the throng of festival-goers. Lucy's heart raced, not just from the search but also from the intensity swirling around her, a whirlwind of hope, fear, and a flicker of determination. Ethan kept pace beside her, glancing in her direction. You're really doing this, huh? He asked quietly. There was admiration in his voice, and for an instant, Lucy felt grounded, like she could do anything as long as she kept this child safe. Of course, she replied, her mind darting back to her own uncertainties. We can't leave her alone, not when she needs us. Behind them, Jake was still scouring the sea of faces, a quiet resolve etched into his expression. They drew closer to the big tree, the outline growing sharper against the carnival glow. Lucy felt a surge of optimism. Maybe they could find Lila's father. Maybe this could be the moment they healed. But as they neared the tree, Lucy paused, her stomach knotting. What if the man was as lost as Lila? What if there were no answers, just more questions? When they reached the tree, it stood tall and proud. But instead of a joyful reunion, silence blanketed the area. Was this the end of their search, or merely the beginning of another tangled twist in her life? Is he here? Lila asked, peering around with wide, hopeful eyes. Lucy felt a tightening in her chest as she glanced at Jake and Ethan. They wore expressions mirroring her own fears. None of them spoke. They all felt it, the heaviness, the uncertainty in the air, like a dark cloud threatening to break. Just then, Lucy caught sight of a figure ahead, and her breath hitched. Could it be? She felt her heart race, hope igniting within her once more. But was this heartwarming reunion meant to be? Or was something even darker lurking just out of sight? The figure moved with an urgency that struck Lucy like a bolt of lightning. She squinted, trying to grasp every detail, her heart pounding in her chest as the figure drew closer. The glow of the carnival lights painted the scene in harsh shadows, revealing a middle-aged man with disheveled hair. He wore a blue jacket, and for a heartbeat, Lucy dared to hope. "Lila!" he shouted, his voice breaking, palpable relief radiating through his words as he quickened his steps. "Daddy!" Lila's eyes sparkled with joy, her small legs launching forward before Lucy could fully process what was happening. The girl rushed through the crowd, the urgency vanishing from her small frame as she threw herself into her father's arms. The moment felt electric, a wave of warmth crashing over Lucy, enveloping her in a bittersweet comfort. But as she watched Lila being lifted high, the father's expression quickly shifted from ecstatic to something darker. Lucy's stomach churned as she observed a flicker of uncertainty, a hint of fear shadowing the man's eyes. "Where were you? I told you to stay close," he scolded, his voice tinged with panic, shaking Lila as though desperate to shake the fear of loss from her. Lucy stepped closer, her instincts flaring. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her heart heavy with the knowledge that this reunion might not be as beautiful as it seemed. The man turned to her, his gaze sharp and defensive, but Lila interjected. "He was looking for me. We lost each other." Her voice was a mix of pride and fear. "Ever the brave little girl." "Yeah. I just got distracted," he muttered, his demeanor shifting again as his eyes darted to the faces around them, perhaps more aware of the wary glances they were getting from passers-by than Lila. Lucy exchanged worried glances with Jake and Ethan. The festival felt different now, loud and jarring against the backdrop of their intimate moment. "Sir, we came to help," Jake said, his voice steady, though concern hollowed it out. "When she was lost, we made sure she was safe." He scoffed, dropping Lila down as if he de-burned himself. "You think wandering off is safe?" His words were sharp, cutting through the festive atmosphere like glass. Lila's expression dropped, and the small triumph of their reunion slipped through her fingers. "Daddy, I didn't mean to." The father ran a hand through his hair, tension simmering in the air. "This isn't the place to talk about this," he said, glancing over his shoulder, and Lucy felt the rush of her earlier intended warmth fade into a chilling reality. "Where were you planning to go?" Lucy asked gently, fear trickling into her voice as she sensed the man's restlessness. "Just home. We've got to go. Now." His anxiety cascaded through his words, the energy infectious, clawing at Lucy's gut. But Lila's small hand clutched her father's jacket, fear creeping into her innocence. "But I wanted to ride the Ferris wheel." "Not now, Lila. We can't stay here." The father's tone darkened, and in that moment, Lucy felt a weight drop heavily in her chest. Jake stepped forward, voice steady. "If there's something wrong, we can." "I said no," he shouted, the crowd noticeably shrinking back from the sudden outburst. Lucy felt her heart wrench at the sight of Lila shrinking, fear creeping back into those bright eyes. Suddenly, Lucy needed to know. "Wait, is everything okay?" You don't seem, but before she could finish, the father lifted Lila's arm and spun around, taking rapid steps away, seeming desperate to vanish into the crowd. Lila looked back, an expression of confusion painted across her small face, a mirror of Lucia's own emotions. "Lila!" Lucy shouted, a surge of instinct driving her forward. But the moment lingered, and for a heartbeat, everything stood still as she realized that this story was far from over. What was happening beneath the surface? What weighed heavy on this man? And could they really leave this little girl behind in a festival filled with uncertainty? In that instant, everything turned wildly chaotic. The laughter faded, the colors blended, and Lucy felt the thread of connection unravel. Hope burnt bright again, igniting a fierce new determination inside her. "Jake," she barely whispered, "we have to follow them. But at what cost?" The question echoed in her mind, daunting and urgent, as they began to chase down a path that felt as uncertain as the night ahead. Lucy raced through the shifting sea of colorful bodies, her pulse quickening with each frantic step. The laughter from nearby rides mixed with the distant sound of carnival music, but all she could hear was Lila's name spinning in her mind like the Ferris wheel she longed to ride. "Stay close." She could hear her own voice echoing in the back of her head. A chill crept over her as she squeezed through the crowd, catching glimpses of the man in the blue jacket ahead, his back stiff and tense. Lila's small hand still clutched tightly within his grasp. "Jake, keep up," she called, not looking back to see if he and Ethan were close. She was rooted in the moment, feeling an instinct she couldn't explain. What did he mean by home? Why was he so panicked? As she pushed past a group of laughing teenagers, she caught another flash of blue. The father was moving faster now, his shoulders hunched, eyes darting like a deer in headlights. The revelry around them swirled, blurring Lucy's focus but sharpening her purpose. She had to reach Lila before fear could grip her entirely, a chilling realization dawning on her. That little girl felt trapped. "Lila!" Lucy shouted again, her voice trembling as she closed the gap. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that danced wildly before her. Just as she reached the edge of a similar crowd, she saw them stop. "Daddy, please!" Lila's voice broke through the noise, and Lucy's heart sank at the desperation woven into her words. "I want to go back." "Not now." "I said no." The father's voice was like a thunderstorm, dark, rumbling, and full of something far more ominous. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just about a missing child. It was about a rift in trust, and it tore at Lucy deeply. She picked up her pace, pushing through swirling bodies until she was nearly face to face with them. "Excuse me," she rushed, a hand reaching out as if to bridge the gap. "Sir, please, let her enjoy the night." "It's okay." His eyes flared with anger as he spun around, suddenly towering over Lucy. "You don't know anything," he barked, a flash of desperation clawing at him. "This is not your kid." Lila's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, that small hand still holding tightly to her father's sleeve. "I'm scared," she whispered, barely audible over the carnival noise, and it sliced through Lucy like glass. In that moment, Lucy felt her own heart shatter a little. Here was a child yearning not just for fun but for safety, for the connection they both seemed to be losing. The man's face softened for a brief second, fear battling with anger, exhaustion warping into something close to vulnerability. "Please, let her stay here. Just for a moment," Lucy pleaded, her voice weaving into the surrounding clamor, seeking to bring him back from the edge. She's just a little girl. For a split second, time seemed to pause. The world around them blurred into a murmur of sounds, and all Lucy could feel was that fragile connection between Lila and her father, both lovers and enemies in this strange, vivid moment. Then, the air shifted. Lila pulled even closer to her father, her voice a soft, trembling whisper. "Daddy, don't you love me?" The words hung heavy. Something shifted in the man's expression, flickering between hardness and pain. "Of course I do," he murmured, a frown deepening as he stared down at his daughter. "But what if he needs help?" Ethan's voice broke through the tension, his hand on Lucia's shoulder grounding her. What if this isn't just a brash father? What if there's something more at play? Before Lucy could respond, the man turned, his expression clouded with turmoil, and they began moving again. She looked at Jake and Ethan, and she saw the understanding mirrored in their eyes. This wasn't just about Lila anymore. Follow them, Lucy said, resolve lifting her voice, the chase breathless but purposeful. We need to know what's happening. But as they rounded the festival's entrance into the dimly lit streets, Lucy could feel the sheer weight of what they were stepping into. And deep down, she knew there was something darker lurking on the path ahead, something that might change everything she believed about love, trust, and the depths of a father's fear. What truth would they uncover, and at what cost? Lucy pushed forward, the urgency of the moment coursing through her veins. The flickering streetlights cast an eerie glow over the cobblestones, illuminating the father and daughter as they hurried down a narrow alley, away from the bright lights of the carnival. Every instinct urged her to move faster, to break through the crowd and reach Lila before anything could go horribly wrong. Stay close, she whispered to Jake and Ethan, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. They quickly fell into step behind her, a solid wall of support that steadied her racing thoughts. Suddenly, the father stopped, turning sharply to snatch Lila's shoulders, his grip tightening with frustration. You don't get it, Lila. I need you to trust me, he said, his voice strained, the desperation splintering what authority he held. Daddy, please. Lila's please echoed through the night, raw and heartbreaking. She tugged at her father's arms, her small face scrunching in fear. The sight had Lucy's heart twisting into knots. Get ready to step in, Ethan murmured, sensing the tension crackling like electricity. Lucy nodded, adrenaline surging as she took a step closer, her breath caught in her throat, unsure of the reaction that could come next. She couldn't let Lila be trapped in this turmoil. Sir, can we talk? She shouted, stepping into the light, her own voice louder than she intended. The man whirled around, eyes wide with disbelief and flickers of anger. What do you want? I want to help, Lucy said, her voice steadying as she spoke. You're scared something's troubling you. But Lila needs to feel safe. Please just let us talk about this. For a moment, everything was still. The carnival sounds faded into an echo, leaving just the four of them in the shaky silence, hearts thundering like an approaching storm. Lila's eyes darted between her father and Lucy, confusion written all over her face. She's just a kid. How could you understand? He ran a hand through his hair, the weight of his emotions too much to bear. Maybe I don't, Lucy admitted, her voice softening. But I know fear. I know what it feels like to lose someone you love. Lila loves you, and she needs to know you love her too. Daddy, Lila whispered, her voice breaking. Please don't be mad, I just want to have fun. The father's expression cracked, the anger bubbling beneath the surface giving way to pain and remorse. You don't understand, he paused, swallowing hard, his own voice trembling. I want to protect you, but it feels like you're pushing me away. Lila cried, a single tear trailing down her cheek. In that moment, it became clear their battle was not just about the carnival or the chaos surrounding them. It was about a father's fear, raw and unfiltered, mingled with a daughter's desire for connection. Talk to her, Jake urged quietly, shifting closer to the conversation with a newfound eagerness. Tell her your fears. Let her in. A long silence enveloped them as the father's grip loosened, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world had collapsed on them all. I'm afraid, he admitted, the brave facade melting away. What if something happens to you out here? You don't understand. Then let me help you understand. Lucy breathed, stepping forward. We all need to look out for one another. Can you let me show you that? A flicker of something hope played in the father's gaze. He glanced down at Lila, her eyes searching his, pleading for him to stay. Maybe, he began, uncertainty lacing his voice. But just as they seemed ready to bridge the gap, a loud crash echoed from deeper in the alley, dragging their focus away. Before anyone could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, stumbling toward them. Help! Someone! Please! Each heart raced anew as Lucy's stomach dropped. This wasn't over. The night had just taken a perilous turn, and with it came the promise of revelations they never expected. What new dangers awaited them? And could they still save Lila, and perhaps each other, before it was too late? Lucy squinted into the darkness as the shadowy figure staggered closer. The frantic cries echoed off the alley walls, bouncing back and forth like a trapped bird trying to escape. She could see now a girl, maybe around Lila's age, with dirt smudged across her face and clothes that hung loosely on her small frame. Fear washed over Lucy like a wave, the urgency of the moment stretching thin. "Help, please," the girl gasped, collapsing onto the cobblestones, her breath shallow and quick. At her feet, Lila instinctively moved towards the girl, her earlier fear seemingly forgotten in the face of another's desperation. "Are you okay?" She knelt down, her small hands reaching out to the girl, concerned by the quiver in her voice. The father flinched, pulling Lila protectively towards him. "Stay back," he barked. He was still battling his own fear, and the sight of another vulnerable child pushed him to the brink. Lucy stepped forward, heart racing. "No, wait. She needs help." The urgency in her voice softened as she crouched beside the girl. "What happened?" I got lost, they were chasing me." The girl stammered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to." Her sobs were harsh, the weight of her fear palpable as she shivered against the cool evening air. "Who was chasing you?" Jake asked, glancing back at Ethan, who had stayed watchful, ready to act. "The bad men from the carnival. They don't want me there." The girl looked around with wide eyes, peering up at Lucy as if she were a lifeline in a storm. "I was just trying to find my daddy, but I can't. He's gone." The words hit Lucy like a punch. The girl hadn't just run away. She had been trying to find safety, to reconnect with someone she loved. It was a mirror to Lila's own desires, and for a brief second, Lucy could see both children as reflections of each other, lost in their own ways. "Your dad?" Lila echoed softly, suddenly feeling a bond with this girl who shared her longing. "Yeah." The girl cried, her voice breaking. "He promised he'd be there, but then I couldn't find him. I thought they'd catch me." The father shifted uncomfortably, his previous anger melting away into something more vulnerable, and he looked at Lila, then back at the frightened girl. "Maybe," he murmured, urgency flooding his voice. "Maybe we can help her." "Please," Lucy urged, feeling hope flicker within her. "You know how it feels. If we team up, we can find her dad and make sure she is safe." "Lila, do you want to help?" Lila nodded vigorously, her earlier fear transforming into determination. "Yeah. We can find her daddy together." Just then, another loud crash echoed from deeper within the alley. The hair on the back of Lucy's neck stood on end. "We need to move," Ethan said, his eyes scanning the surroundings, already alert to the unseen dangers that lurked. "Stay close," Lucy instructed everyone, her voice firm as she got to her feet. They had to work quickly. "Can you walk?" she asked the girl, who was still huddled on the ground, clearly shaken. "I think so," the girl replied, a small spark of hope flickering in her eyes. "Good. Lila, keep her arm around your shoulder, let us go." With a newfound purpose, the small group formed a protective barrier around the girl. Together, they hurried forward, the shadows seeming to stretch and shift as their journey interweaved, each step a promise to safeguard and support one another. As they rounded a corner, a terrifying scene unfolded. A pair of men, possibly the ones the girl had run from, loomed at the exit of the alley, searching the area with eyes like predators. Lucy swallowed hard. They weren't safe yet. Would they make it through? Would the night swallow them whole before they could find the help they needed? "Stick together," she whispered fiercely, each heartbeat growing louder as anticipation crept into the air. What would happen next? What if the truth about that little girl's father was more complicated than they could imagine? Lucy's heart thundered in her chest as they moved deeper into the shadows. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, urging her to protect Lila and the trembling girl as they pressed forward. The alley was a labyrinth of uncertainty, and as they approached the exit, every breath felt like a countdown. Stay low, Lucy instructed, her voice barely above a whisper. The faint glow of streetlights beckoned them just ahead, but danger loomed around every corner. Ethan took point, his body alert, ready to shield them all. Lila clutched the trembling girl as they turned to navigate through the darkened alley. "What's your name?" Lila asked, trying to break the tension. "It's Mia," the girl replied, tears still glistening in her eyes, yet a hint of strength was starting to emerge. "Thank you for helping me." "You're safe now," Lucy reassured, her heart swelling with protective warmth for both Lila and Mia. "We'll find your dad together." The alley opened up to a bustling street, and for a moment, Lucy felt a rush of hope. But it disappeared quickly as she spotted the two men lingering at the alley's entrance, their eyes scanning the crowd. They looked dangerous, and Lucy's breath caught. Lila's father had reacted poorly to being scared with these men. "Keep moving," Jake whispered, nudging Lucy forward. They blended into the throng of festival-goers, colorful lights and laughter forming a comforting barrier between them and danger. Once they were safely past the entrance, Jake turned to the group, urgency in his voice. "We need to find a place where we can talk," he urged. "Somewhere those guys can't see us." "Where's your dad, Mia?" Lucy asked, drawing in a breath to calm her racing heart. The colors of the fair felt alive yet distant as their world shrank into urgency. She glanced at Lila, her eyes meeting the little girl's earnest gaze. "Do you remember where he last told you to meet? Maybe we can help." Mia nodded hesitantly. "He said near the Ferris wheel. But I don't think he's there anymore." The apprehension in her voice was palpable, a weight that settled over them all. With renewed focus, they made their way toward the Ferris wheel, hoping it wasn't too late. The joyfully spinning ride felt eerie against the gravity of their mission. Lucy walked alongside Mia, glancing sideways at the frightened child who had entered her heart so deeply. "Mia," Lucy said softly, "do you think you could call out for your dad when we get close? It might help him find us." Mia's face lit up an instant before fading again. "What if the bad men are nearby? Then we'll protect you," Lila said earnestly, reaching over to squeeze Mia's hand, an unexpected bond forming between two lost souls. "You can do this." They arrived at the base of the Ferris wheel, and the lights wrapped around them like starlight. Lucy felt a surge of determination rising within her. "Mia, now's your chance," she encouraged. "Call for your daddy." As Mia hesitated, the sounds of laughter and excitement swirled around them, creating a tension unlike anything they'd experienced before. "You can do this," Lila urged again, her small bravado inspiring. "Okay," Mia whispered, taking a deep breath. "Dad," she shouted, her voice trembling but powerful. "Dad, I'm here. Please come." An echo of silence followed. Lucy closed her eyes, waiting for a response. Her heart longed for the reunion, a hope everyone deserved. Suddenly, a figure appeared, and at first blush, it felt like a dream. Mia's father emerged from the crowd, panic etched across his features. "Mia," he called, rushing toward them. She dashed forward, joy bubbling up as she reached for him. But then, Lucia's heart plunged again. The two men lurked at the edge of the crowd, eyes locked on the father as he moved closer to Mia. The same raw panic painted his expression as he glared at the men, recognizing the threat. "Dad," Mia squealed, launching into her father's arms. "I was scared." Their embrace was heart-wrenching, but Lucy felt a deepening dread. "Mia, we can't stay here," her father said, glancing over his shoulder at the men. "We need to go now." "Wait," Lucy stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Please don't leave. We can protect you. You don't understand." The father's voice was harsh, fear gripping at him. "They're dangerous. I can't let them get near her anymore." The tension exploded. Just then, the two men charged forward, their aggressive energy radiating through the crowd. "Come here," one of them yelled, pointing at the father. "Run!" Lucy screamed, urgency tearing at her voice, grabbing Lila's hand tightly. Without thinking, they dashed down a side street, fear spurring them on. Mia's father hesitated but then followed, a look of gratitude passing over his features for just a moment. As they fled, Lucia's mind ran wild. They had to lead both Mia and her father away from danger, teach them the truth about trust and love. It was a mission bigger than her, threading strands of connection into the hearts of those around her. Finally, they stumbled upon a small park, the night serenaded by gentle rustling leaves and the sound of children playing. The lights from the fair softened, as if they had entered a cocoon of safety. "Are you all right?" Lucy turned to the father, who was breathing heavily with Mia still tucked under his arm. "They won tea, come here. What are you even doing?" he snapped, still guarded. But Lucy saw the fear, and beneath it, a flicker of hope yearning to emerge. "You just want to protect her," she said gently. "But pushing her away will only make her more afraid. This isn't how you protect her." The father's shoulders slumped, taking in the scene around him. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he admitted, voice cracking. "It's okay," Lucy said softly. "We've all been lost at some point. But this is your chance to show her that you care." Mia placed a small hand on her father's knee. "Daddy, I just want to have fun with you. Please don't be scared anymore." The weight on the father began to lift as he looked down at his daughter, the love radiating through his exhausted demeanor. "I'm so sorry, Mia. I didn't want to lose you." At that moment, Lucy realized how powerful it was to share a burden. The understanding, the fear, the desire to protect. They were all intertwined, these families brought together by circumstance. Just then, a siren wailed in the distance, pulling them back to reality. But it didn't feel like an end anymore. It felt like a beginning. Lucy could feel the shift in the air, a wave of connection and understanding that bridged gaps they thought were insurmountable. "Let us promise to be together," she proposed, looking around at Lila, Mia, and her father. "We can be a family here tonight. No fear, just love." One by one, they nodded in agreement, tears brimming in their eyes. The anger, the hurt, the loss, they all melted away in that moment. In their hearts, they forged an unbreakable bond. In the middle of a bustling carnival, everything started to glow brightly, a vivid reminder of hope, transformation, and the growing strength found in togetherness. They were not alone anymore. And as they all moved towards the carnival lights, hand in hand, Lucy knew this moment was just the beginning. Love could stitch their fragmented lives together, healing wounds once thought impossible to mend. This was the moment they could embrace hope beyond a mere wish. They could build a family, anchored in resolve and compassion, a place filled with laughter and dreams, unshaken by fear. They stepped into the radiant chaos, forever changed. And in that first ride on the Ferris wheel, as they soared to dizzying heights, they gleamed together among the stars, soaring higher than they ever dared to dream. Now the journey of love could truly begin. If you resonated with this incredible journey of transformation, now is the time to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the love flowing in our community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Every voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread the love.